Well, hi everyone. Well, it's been a minute since I did a Rhode Island related bridge video, but here we are. I'm recording this video on Saturday, April 25th, 2026. Last night, Friday night, around 7:30 p.m., a large section of a RIDOT bridge came crashing down onto the Amtrak tracks in Cranston, Rhode Island. And it was this on-ramp from westbound Highway 10 to northbound I-95. And of course, this debris fouled all the tracks at this location, which forced an Amtrak outage from Rhode Island to Boston, which subsequently affected traffic into New York City. So a major disruption. And as of recording here this morning, Saturday morning, these tracks are still closed. So again, major disruption thanks to Rhode Island DOT. Now, WPRI was on site to ask some questions of Governor McKee. So I'm just going to play this segment. I've got a link to this video in the description.
Governor Dan McKee, what can you tell us about what happened here?
Yeah, so as best we can determine, some debris fell from above onto the Amtrak tracks. And right now, everybody's safe. There was nobody injured.
Well, he's almost becoming his own meme of talking about how everyone's safe, or relative to the Washington Bridge, how they kept everyone safe in these near disasters. Having no one hurt or injured is certainly the desired outcome, but that doesn't mean the traveling public is safe, as he puts it, in my opinion.
How concerning is this for you to have one of the state's highway on-ramps seemingly buckle like this?
Well, again, we got to determine exactly what it was. There's a parapet that is the debris that has fallen onto the tracks. And we yet to be determined. Of course, it's all concerning, especially with the fact that the debris has fallen from attached to the bridge and has fallen onto the tracks. So it's all concerning. But until we actually find out what caused the problem, or what describe exactly what the problem is, it's difficult to kind of tell you any more than that.
Well, Governor McKee's got to be wondering how many other bridge disasters may occur on his watch before Election Day, the gubernatorial elections in November of this year. He also has to be wondering if he'd be better off still having Director Alviti as the person that could come forward in these situations. I can imagine maybe a statement like, this was a controlled self-demolition that went according to plan. Of course, I'm joking, but that's the flavor of some of the things that we got out of RIDOT in the past under similar circumstances. So again, this is the interchange that we're talking about, Highway 10 westbound ramp to I-95 north. And it appears it would be this north side of the bridge, the parapet, that collapsed onto the tracks and essentially fouled all of these tracks in this area. Now, one thing that wasn't mentioned in these news stories was how Amtrak officials became aware of this debris on the track. Presumably, they received some type of alarm signal, but even so, this could have been a major disaster, just given a difference in timing. When you have tons of debris falling down on a track, it certainly would have been a much different situation if it had fallen on the train itself. Now we've got John Price. He's RIDOT's chief engineer. He jumps in on this news conference.
There's an ongoing construction project happening here, correct?
That is correct. There's an ongoing construction project.
Just as a reminder, John Price was the person at RIDOT during the forensic investigation of what happened with the events that led up to the closure of the westbound Washington Bridge, who demanded daily updates from the WCVB engineers as to what they were doing or finding out with their investigation. And I've got a pending APR request to have them disclose actually the contents of these Zoom or team meetings, because as I found out, a lot of these emails were non-existent in terms of communication between John Price and WCVB, except for him demanding daily updates. So I'm going to continue to follow that story, but let's get back to this one.
There's some pieces that we need to get off the tracks that are too big to lift and walk off the tracks. So we need the heavier piece of equipment to move it off.
How large is the piece that fell?
I haven't gotten on the tracks myself to measure it, so I'm not sure.
He's not sure, apparently. I mean, just looking at the photo, it looks like it's about 10 feet wide and about 30 or 40 feet long, but he won't even tell you any idea how big it is since he hasn't been on the track to measure it.
The last time that this on-ramp, according to RIDOT's website, was surveyed, if you will, was in March of last year. It was determined to be in poor condition. So was this something that was ever a concern or pointed out in the past? Was this a concern for you guys?
So the bridge is scheduled to be demolished and replaced on this construction project, and we did have a inspection scheduled for 6 days from now.
So another thing that's not clarified in this news conference is to what extent, if any, did the construction activity cause this debris from the bridge to fall down on the Amtrak tracks? Now, this is a shot from the National Bridge Inventory database. Shows the location of this ramp. This bridge was constructed in 1965, has a daily traffic volume of around 28,000 vehicles a day. So it's a very busy ramp. And based on this information, it appears that the last inspection that was conducted was in February of 2025, and the bridge had a poor condition rating. So we'll see what kind of investigation is actually done here. As we saw with the westbound Washington Bridge, RIDOT had the forensic evaluation performed, and they kept that report as draft in an effort to hide the results from the public, in my opinion. I mean, that's pretty clear that that information wasn't available for over a year until news of this report was leaked to the media. So we'll see what they do here. I just think it's alarming that, again, recent inspections apparently did not divulge conditions of potential imminent collapse of tons of debris from a bridge down below onto these Amtrak rail lines. So I think it still brings into question how much can the public rely on RIDOT having conducted these inspections and what they actually do with the information obtained from these inspections for the various bridges, in excess of 800 bridges in the state of Rhode Island. So I'll continue to follow the story. Thanks to those of you who alerted me to it this morning. When I woke up, I had a couple of notifications from folks that alerted me to this story, so I really appreciate that. I want to send a shout out to those of you who've contributed to buy me a coffee. That's one of the better ways to support this channel. I also want to thank the channel members and those of you who've contributed to super thanks. So stay tuned for future videos, everyone.